Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Thursday again, and time for our weekly subscriber stream here at lichess and Twitch. lichess.org and Twitch. My handle on Twitch is Sladgie. Here on lichess, we're playing under the account Sparkle Horse. And today is a subscriber stream. This is a day that I've created a stream for just basically focusing on my subscribers. Rewarding those guys with blitz and taking them almost exclusively in the challenges, and also most importantly, a day and a stream I like to dedicate to analyzing subscriber games. So you can choose some game that you played in a live or online game here on lichess. Send it to me via message or other communicable way. And we'll take a look at the game together here on the stream, and it's fun. I like to play blitz and rapid chess, but you know, the truth is that we really need to analyze. I mean, I think analyzing the game, it's hard work, and a lot of people like to avoid hard work. Move 11, what's up? Good to see you. We are going to be, you know, welcoming all the subscribers to share their games with us, and whatever you guys want to look at is fine with me. You can pick a Grandmaster game. I mean, hey, what's up, Antonio? I got your challenge. It doesn't have to be your game, and we can look at a game from, you know, Grishuk against Safarli like we did last week, a game from the World Rapid and Blitz Championship. So the stream looks like we're off to a good start. We've got green lights on the audio and everything else. Mr. Coffee, welcome. So last week, one of the subscribers, I forgot to go over one of their games, and they didn't say anything, but I felt kind of bad about it. You know, sometimes my memory is just like a sieve, so I've got a lot of stuff going on. If I forget to mention your game or to go over a game, don't forget to remind me on the chat in the stream. Hey, Serbian Santa Claus. So again, thank you guys for subscribing. I'm not going to play like the random people too much. This guy challenged me. I don't even play like normal bullet chess. Good luck with the half a minute. That's quality. Tantalos, I love to play, you know, maybe off stream, a 10-0 rated, but not on my stream. On the stream games, we're doing 5+3 through 7+3, but we're going to try to keep to subscribers today. Occasionally I might run out of subscribers to play, and I'll accept someone from the peanut gallery. Have I considered playing for the Rapid Shield? Oh, man. Yeah, I mean, if I had more free time, I mean, definitely. I just never have any time. All right, Mirales, let's play C4. I didn't really get to warm up today. I played one game in a 3+2 against some really low-rated opponent. So Morales is fast. We're gonna keep it to an English, I think. He's always trying to play the King's Indian. You can't really avoid the King's Indian. I mean, you can play an English type of setup against the King's Indian, but there's no way to avoid it. And the King's Indian is always a very challenging opening. I mean, I feel like it's an all-out struggle for both sides, and I'm just not that up to date in the main lines that I used to play in the King's Indian. So we're gonna try to handle this in a different way. I don't remember what I did against Morales in past games. Probably played knight f3. We can always transpose to a g3. One of my students likes to play this move. I've probably already done this against Morales like last week, but I forgot. I think there was some that I played rook b1 against. And this is a move order that I've even thought about using with black against the King's Indian attack in the Sicilian, but there really isn't a perfect waiting move for white here. You kind of like want to wait and see what black's going to do, but there isn't the ultimate useful waiting move. And rook b1 is just one move of many that we can potentially play. You know, so like e3, d6, d3. I've got to be able to meet bishop f5 on my rook on b1. You can play knight f3 for sure. If d3, I can play e4. Soltigo, welcome, man. Try to learn something new. Well, the question mark is the waiting move rook b1. This is a setup that I've played many times with black. I'm basically being black with white colored pieces in a closed Sicilian. So I've got a couple players who sent me games prior to the stream. Nefedov sent me a message, and Arsenal fan. Our representatives from the UK are preemptively, sending me games to analyze. Serbian Santa Claus doesn't like my solid openings with white. He's frustrated by knight f3. Wow, now Morales, we had a game in the simul, I remember. I'm doing simuls on Sundays, and I was getting ridiculously low on time. I mean, knight g4 it's a pretty weird move. I guess my inclination is to play h3. I can feel, knight g4. I've done that kind of thing, and not in this opening, but other openings where I want to play f5. It's not really the standard way to do it, but it's interesting. You could really try to punish the knight with something like g4, but it would drastically weaken my king side, so I don't think I'm really signed up for that here. What would Petrosian do? Normally we're putting our knight on e2 and developing our pieces flexibly. Knight f5, I've seen a lot of that lately. Not really a great square for the knight. And now I'm seriously thinking about not castling even, or delaying castling. I think the d4 is another move that's reasonable. F4, meeting f5 with f4 is a very standard idea. But I can't recapture with the g-pawn without allowing queen h4 check. And unless you want to get really creative. Dvoretsky told me that you're basically supposed to always recapture the opposite way. So if f4, e takes f, g takes f. If g takes f, e takes f. I mean, that's kind of like a general rule. But I can't do it when my king is still on e1, unless I'm going to be walking around on d2 with my king. Morales likes this closed type of position. Morales, do you play the closed Sicilian with white? Come to think of it, what does Morales play with white? Is his opening repertoire cohesive? Now I don't remember. The other day in the simul you were clearly worse. This is definitely unusual. I mean, knight g4, but it seems reasonable. I mean, when I was an amateur, around 2100, 2000, I used to play this type of setup with black, and I liked it, but I grew out of, I don't know why, I just kind of grew away from the closed Sicilian as I became a master and beyond. But I think that it's fine. It's just a matter of what kind of positions you like to play. There's nothing wrong with the closed Sicilian, especially with black. It's a similar scheme, yeah. I may have been better against you the other day, but it wasn't that easy to exploit my advantage. That's why I offered a draw. So anybody who wants to send me a game to analyze, let me know. Soltigo. Actually, Soltigo sent me a game. So I'm reserving this feature for the subscribers. We're in time with the b4. I just hope that he doesn't have some weird f4 type of move. But I can certainly play e takes f and then take back with the bishop on c1 and be up a pawn. So what's up, Soltigo? You got a good game for me? Something about the Grunfeld? Nefedov and well, actually, I think that Arsenal fan may have mentioned that he wouldn't be here. Nefedov is not here. These guys are 2 subscribers to the stream. 2. Knight f7 now. f4 is still not a threat. I'd rather not play f4 unless it's absolutely necessary. In these kind of closed Sicilians, I typically would try to play for c5, maybe bishop a3. But the thing is, I need that bishop to kind of secure this diagonal. My mouse button has been acting pretty strange lately. Sometimes I try to make arrows and they don't want to cooperate. So we're going to go with f4 anyway. Not all that different from my other game with Morales. I invented a name for this. I call this the pawn smile. The pawn smile is something that I would normally, do a lot with black in the closed Sicilian. Pawn smile. I think I made that up. Very original. Queen d2 just shoring up. It's going to be shoring up the dark squares. And we can play according to the Dvoretsky principle here, basically taking the opposite way that he takes. Maybe bishop b2 simply now. What I don't want to do is give him a really good outpost for a knight to mess up my kingside or something on h4. So it's pawn takes pawn. I'm basically changing plans. Originally we're looking for b4, b5, a4, a5, c5, but now I put my bishop on the long diagonal and we're going to shift this rook over to the e file to cover the pawn on e3. Taking with the knight on f4. He quickly played knight g5, but I don't know what that does. What is knight at g5 about? Not sure. I quite know what that does. If I were to play this move, am I better playing this or rook e1? Trading off is better, bishop on g7. I think that white stands a little better. Clash Kid, what's up? Yeah, it's in English, straight up, English against the King's Indian. But it's turned into what I would classify as a closed English / closed Sicilian reversed. Very typical. But Morales playing a kind of unusual maneuver like knight g4 to h6 in the opening. Now we're on bishop takes g7, I guess. And we've got queen b2 check and stuff like knight h5, which could be really nasty. But at the end of the day, I just have a better structure, which is a good thing. Knight takes g6. Looks really interesting with queen h6 to follow. Maybe I can wait a move on that. Rook e1 was my original plan. Knight takes g6, h takes g6, queen h6, g5. Oh man, that looks really dangerous for black. Rook e1. I mean, it certainly can't be bad. I'm not certain this is my best. It's hard to believe there isn't something for white here. Oh, this move I didn't see. King f7. Now knight f4, only move queen f6. Then there's bishop d5 check. You'd think there'd be something here for me, but I don't see it offhand. Now my queen, he's starting to trap my queen at this juncture. And this should be good for me. As long as the queen doesn't get trapped or something. Almost have knight takes g6 type of tactics. Not quite. Rook e1. Wow, he can do that. He's just dropping g6. Okay. Just dropping g6, but not so simple because I can't take on f8. I was a little hasty with this capture. He just resigned, but I think it's a premature resignation. You can play king d8 and I can't take the rook on f8. Okay, I mean, it's winning for white, I guess, but the immediate win is not obvious. I would have just played rook on b to e1. But I think he had better defense. Apparently not. Whoa, sorry guys. Once I play queen h6, this was the best move. I was concerned about g5, but my intended response was strong, apparently. Okay, I mean, it's funny. It doesn't win by force. Black can play rook f7 here, and I was kind of like, well, what do I do next, you know? But apparently he's just paralyzed in rook e2, and white is up by 8 points of material. That's pretty insane. All right, we've got Soltigo's message. Sorry. Any device against the smile system? Well, if you study some classical games, you know, this is a pretty typical type of closed Sicilian. I'm sure that there's plenty of answers. Yeah, the 8 point material advantage wasn't that evident to me. I didn't think I was winning by that much, but it's pretty strong. So where did he lose the game? I mean, essentially. He's always a little bit worse here. And now structurally he's slightly worse. And I didn't like knight g5. It looks like we're really good all the way through. I never found, you know, these type of systems to be easy for black to play either. I think it's a certain style. All right, I don't know whether to wait for Nefedov and Arsenal fan. Yeah, we'll take that challenge next, Soltigo, but I want to start going over a game. I guess we might as well pick those guys before I forget about them. Wait, Arsenal fan. All right. These are in a study. I have a couple games which I appreciate. Take a look at from Hastings. Also, there's a couple other games which are interesting. If you could show it on Thursday, okay. One I feel was particularly educational was in round 2. All right. He felt he was better throughout, but never quite managed to pull it into a decisive advantage. I really appreciate it if you could show it on Thursday. Okay, so round 2 of Arsenal fans games. This is from his tournament in Hastings. Arsenal fan was white, and he played e4, d5. E takes d5, queen takes d5. Oh, Arsenal, you are here. Okay, I thought you weren't here. I'm like talking to you like you're in the other zone or something. I thought you and Nefidov both weren't here. I guess I didn't see you. Oh, there you are at the top of the list on my friend list. Okay. So queen a5. Still the main line, but I mean everybody is focusing on queen d8 because that was trendy with a couple of books. You know what's interesting? Stockfish likes queen d6 and queen d8, and I think that's one of the things that's making queen a5 become less trendy. And not just Stockfish, but probably all engines like something about the queen in the center, on the center file. But I mean, queen a5 seems just as good to me. I think you're splitting hairs with like queen d6, queen a5. Queen d6 is actually, I think, the hardest one of the three variations to play for black, because the queen on d6 tends to get hit by minor pieces quite a bit. But our hero here is white. I intuitively feel like queen a5 is the best move yet, but Stockfish doesn't think so. But you're not giving it a lot of time to think. I mean, maybe if you gave it days to think about. All right, here we are, like main line. Arsenal fan says c6 seems a little early. I believe it's the main line. It is the main line. Black needs that to retreat back. That's very key. The retreat on the diagonal. And now you played bishop d3, which is a rare move. The main lines are knight e5 and bishop to c4. And oftentimes you see people play bishop d2. Nick DeFermian is one player I remember playing bishop d2. I always have a kind of bias against this bishop d2 thing. I can't really feel like my pieces are properly placed with the bishop on d2. But anyway, it is a line. So, bishop d3. Why is this bishop d3 not played more often? It's not as aggressive as bishop c4. I think it doesn't address the pin with bishop g4. There may be problems with the d4 pawn not being well protected there. DeFermi and Christensen, 1996, kind of suspicious. Those guys are very friendly, so it could easily be a friendly draw. Why Nick would play bishop d3. But anyways, it looks like the majority of players played bishop g4. But ironically, Stockfish likes bishop f5. It's a pretty obscure variation. It makes sense trading, you know, trading this Caro-Kann bishop, and b4 doesn't do anything because of queen takes b4. So we can actually play bishop f5. Oh, that's the line that Stockfish likes. Wow, according to Stockfish, bishop f5, b4. Well, this is the game. Maybe this was a real game, maybe it was just a joke. I don't know. Friendly players tend to play in a sort of jokey games against each other sometimes. But let's see, bishop takes f5, queen takes c3 check, bishop d2, queen c4, and now rook b1. It doesn't look like a joke to me. I mean, this could be dangerous for black. The thing is that Larry didn't normally play the Scandinavian. You know, that's the other thing that's kind of weird about this. Might see him play the Caro-Kann occasionally, but Scandinavian I don't recall. And now b5. Yeah, that's interesting position. White has compensation for the sacrificed pawn. Quite a kind of convincing line actually for white. White looks better. So anyway, this guy played bishop g4 against Arsenal, and that makes a lot of sense to put pressure on the d4 pawn. Vladimir Yupishyn, famous for his ability to smoke 2 cigarettes at the same time. Istrichescu. So bishop g4 looks logical to me. You know, that would have been my reaction probably with black. He played h3, bishop h5, and now in retrospect, you think bishop f4 was slightly more accurate. I really don't know. The engine likes your position. Doesn't care about this pin too much. I mean, maybe you don't have to do anything. You know, I don't think that bishop d2 is a big deal. I agree. I mean, he's happy to just move his queen again, you know, to c7 or something like that. That's why I never liked playing bishop d2. It looks like the majority of players played castles here. Yeah, I guess I would choose castles if I had to play this position with white. Now, this is kind of cool. I mean, with this move, you're actually keeping your option open to castle either side, depending on what black does. And the majority of players went with bishop b4. Kind of a Slav type of setup for black. I know, like, you know, John Bartholomew plays a lot of Scandinavian and recommends black play kind of in a Caro-Kann style. Even 20 years ago, Gingiashvili was messing around with the Scandinavian. And, you know, he definitely, like, recommended these type of ideas and was using these type of setups with bishop b4, willing to trade the good bishop even, because white's bishops aren't so good in this Caro-Kann Scandinavian type of structure. Oftentimes white gets a bishop pair that, like the dark squared bishop, is hard for white to put to good use. So amazingly, you're in a Csaba Horvath game. This is funny. This is a guy. This Mladen Zelic guy was this Smith-Morrow player, and I played against him, and I purposely played like one c3 against him with white because I wanted him to play e5 so I could play c4 and he would play d5, you know, going into the Smith-Morrow reversed. But when I played one c3, Zelic played f5, and I had to beat him in a Dutch with c3. All right, castle's queenside. You're actually following this game. Horvath Csaba is a veteran, you know, Hungarian GM. Played exactly this position with black. Rook on h to e1. Castle's queenside. You're following the exact game. Yeah, and I agree. I mean, you know, this is logical. I mean, now there's no reason to fear playing g4. Bishop g6. Yeah, here Zelic played a very strange move, knight to g5, but there's an idea attacking f7. King b1 is like a standard waiting move for white here because you don't really know what to do. I don't know. Knight g5 is Zelic's move, focusing on f7, and Csaba played knight b6. With equality. Apparently black's even slightly better after knight b6. So that's that game. Arsenal fan, what did you do? You went with, Jesus man, you played Zelic's move. That's insane. Like, they're gonna think you were using the lichess opening database, man, during the game. I mean, the opening explorer. Arsenal fan, you played the only move that's ever been played in this game, in a master game, in this position, knight g5. I like the lame king b1, personally. Alright, so knight g5, and then your opponent varied from Csaba with the second best move, it looks like. It looks like Horvath is right. I mean, this is probably black's best. It's not a super square for the knight on b6, but he's just defending f7, you know, and he wants you to take on g6. This is better way for black, you know, to probably let you take on g6 if there's going to be a capture. But your opponent here played bishop takes d3, queen takes d3, knight b6, slightly different position, and then bishop e3 defending the d4 pawn. So king b1 still a good move. Knight f3 coming back is a recommendation of the computer. Sorry for not subscribing on my channel. Maybe not, man. You don't have to say sorry, man. Absolutely, you know, no problem. I really appreciate just being with us, and subscribing on lichess as a patron is awesome. So thank you for that, Serbian Santa Claus. No need to apologize. I really appreciate everybody who's subscribed and also been a patron for lichess. This yeah, I'm not sure I would find knight f3 if I were, you know, if somebody asked me what the best move is. That's the engine is convinced of that, but you know, these moves like knight e4 look, I still like king b1 just for the king safety, and I'm lazy and I don't know what else to do. The queen is in kind of an awkward place, and the knight f3, I guess, just comes back to the center. The other thing is that maybe black has ideas of h5, I wonder. I mean, h5 with the idea of just opening the h file for counterplay for black. Maybe with knight f3 you enable yourself to be able to play g5, and like, you know, stuff that forever. If you come back and black tries something fancy with like h5, you'd be like g5, g6 maybe, and levering his whole pawn structure. So there may be a related idea with that. And the best move is h5 for a moment there, according to the engine. It's a kind of ballsy move. I mean, h5, because you're leaving the knight just chilling on a really good outpost with h5. So I understand your opponent's h6, you know, that's a timid move, but it's also very human, to fear the knight on g5. Yeah, here's a tough one. I mean, the knight on c3 isn't well placed, Rich, and you gave yourself an interesting for this move, but I understand, you know, you don't like the pressure along the line with the queen on d3, and it looks like he's threatening c5 maybe. It really looks like he's threatening c5. If you play knight takes e4, there it is. That's the best move. I mean, it's easy for a stockfish to be like queen e2, slight advantage to white. You know, no, it's actually, this is looking like, you know, kind of good. Hu Yifan versus Shankland. Another Karo Khan game. I just popped in my mind. Knight takes e4, queen takes e4, and then, oh, that's kind of ugly. The engine actually popped out g5 as one of its suggestions. I just don't really like putting pawns on dark squares with a dark squared bishop. h5 is more like it, you know. g5. I like h5, you know, getting the pawns on the right color and maybe opening the h file. f4 is logical. Now we're getting into simple territory. You fix the structure a little bit, bringing his pawn toward the center. But on the other hand, his king could get hit by like rook d3, rook b4, or also it could get caught in the center if you end up winning like control of this diagonal. I could see the black king getting opened up here. So he's got to be a little bit careful. Looks like he did the right recapture though, and then there it is. You know, he's gonna have to play bishop d6, right, and then take with a rook. But instead you played bishop e5. I don't know what the best move is. But you don't have too many choices here. Bishop takes d6, rook takes d6, rook f1. Looks like keeps pressure. Is it arrogant to call this an excellent move? It's one of the best two moves available. Bishop takes e5, and then you took with the pawn, which changes the character of the position. I think this is more of a normal like recapture. Structurally, rook takes e5 is the better move, because with your capture, your e5 pawn becomes a kind of target. That doesn't mean it's necessarily bad, but the pawn is much more secure on d4, and on e5 it feels like he's going to get counterplay. Queen e7, rook d2. It's a very cautious move, rook d2. Feels like you're defending, you know. Of course, you have ability to like double your rooks laterally, and that's still good. This is the only thing, that pawn on e5. If he gets that pawn or keeps you kind of tied down to it, you're not going to be able to win very easily. Queen g5 check, and then you traded queens, which looks like, yeah, this looks like a mistake, because you're trading queens in a position where I think you have the slightly safer king. I think it's not a big deal though. I mean, if you play king b1, king b8, it's only a very small advantage to white anyway. Queen f4, queen takes f4, rook takes f4, king d7. Yeah, he's lucky he didn't put his king on b8. And now, your king needs to be centralized, but you've got to watch this pawn. So rook f6, I was considering. There's something wrong with this move? h5, wow. And on g5? h4, artificially isolating your pawn. And so apparently that's enough to maintain the balance for black, unfortunately. So you played this. This looks like a good move, actually. That's I agree with the rook f3 exclamation point. And then h4. I don't know, maybe h4 is premature. Maybe you should just like secure yourself first, improve your king. But the thing is, he's threatening rook g5, right? What are you going to do? No, that's awkward. He's threatening rook g5. That's weird. Rook a3. Maybe you can shift over. But I think that the game kind of hinged on that capture on e5. Now anyway, we still got game left. This is a long one. Rook c8, c3, b5 minority attack. Double-edged decision. It's a double-edged decision. Best move according to Stockfish. How strong was this opponent, man? I mean, that's a hard move to play, because b5 looks like it's risky at the same time as being, you know, logical. Now your rook. Yeah, what are you going to do? The thing is, your rook is kind of immobile on b4. Maybe rook f1. Someone was saying how Dvoretsky talked about, you know, rook mobility, but this is coming down. So I understand rook b4. You still have mobility. You can go back. I think it's a big moment here where he missed rook c4. This has got to be, yeah. He said that was intended to be met by rook f4. But it looks like that's a pivotal moment where he really has to play the active move. The rook b8 is just way too passive. King f2, you want to relieve the guard, but it looks like maybe rook f1. You're playing like rook f1 with threats of coming here. That looks pretty dangerous for black. He'll play rook b7, and then you can do something, but it's still not that easy. So you went here, and then rook f6, and the game is changing significantly. You play king g3, okay. h5, g5, and now the game shifts to the queen side. Now your rook on b4 can't really do anything. This is awkward. Rook f6 looks like you have to go for it with rook f6 now. Rook f6, rook c5. What? King f3. Rook f6, rook c4, rook f4. And maybe it's a draw. And now, does he have b4? Something like that? Oh, you have rook h6 here. I don't know about that. Okay, Rich, it's too complicated a game to analyze this perfectly in a short time, but yeah, you tried it. Obviously, you have to calculate this to make sure, you know, there's no zugzwang. And apparently you had g6 with a small, tiny advantage. Or rook h7. Now you're actually in a little bit of danger. It looks like he's landing the first blow. But your king and your pieces are too active to lose this, I would hope. Two connected pass pawns for black, but no king. And that's the problem. Wow, this was lucky that you have king d5. Maybe there's another way to draw, I wonder. Apparently rook c7. You have rook c7. And then like c3, king d5. Maybe a little more accurate. No, it doesn't matter. Okay, so this is a draw. Alright, man. Well, I don't know. It was a close game, a lot going on there. I don't think that any side ever had a clear win, but you were much better, more of the game than he was, ever better. But he played really, really well. Alright, let's go back and play a game. I'm sorry, Arsenal fan, I didn't see. How much was this guy's ELO rating, or BCF or ECF? He seemed quite strong. I mean, reasonably strong, you know, like Arsenal fan hasn't played many games, so he's his rating is pretty low, I think. Soltigo with knight f3. Guys, we're doing game analysis and also mixing in some blitz and rapid games with the subscribers. International Master William Paschall. I'm still under the weather, but I'm getting better. D3, King's Indian attack. Soltigo, our moderator, he's very talented, but he doesn't really like to follow any opening theory. So it's always like an adventure. This is totally bizarre. I think I'll just ignore that. 127 ECF. Seems a little better than that, I would say. I mean, the guy didn't make any blunders the entire game, basically. I mean, neither of you did. I think a 127 player would make more common mistakes here and there. Okay, c3, what are we going to do? Now we need to defend said pawn. Queen c7 or b6. Double fianchetto. Bishop e3, what was that, says Nefedov. It's a typical made-up opening. The Bulgarian Grandmaster Milko Popchev did something really strange like that against me once, and I lost. It was something really, really weird. He did Bishop e3 against the King's Indian type of formation extremely early in the game. I don't remember. Just taking me out of book totally. I mean, I don't know. We could try to do knight h6 to exploit that bishop. But I don't know if I even like it in this structure. I'm not sure putting my knight on f5 is even the right idea here. Because he might play e4. When there's a weakness on d4, like in a symmetrical English, I'm doing knight h6, knight f5 a lot. But not here, I don't think. Soltigo is like Tal. But actually, Clash Kid, you're like Tal too. Except you have... you're like Tal too. You guys both have this crazy tendency to create chaos. I think both of you play like that. And I don't know, I think in Soltigo's case, it's probably consciously. I don't know about you. It could be subconscious or conscious. But thanks to you guys for subscribing to my stream. Wow, Soltico's closing in on 100 games against me. This is number 94. I just want to develop my pieces here. I guess I'm thinking too long, trying to play like perfect chess. But the battle will be deferred until a later time. We're just doing like a standard double fianchetto Reti type of thing here. Staying flexible. I really value my flexibility with my pawn structure. That bishop is awkward. It could fall into the hands of black's knights. But you don't play crazy just in blitz. I mean, our simul games have gotten really crazy sometimes, Clash Kid. That bishop is always a problem, isn't it? It doesn't know where it wants to go. It's artificially placed on e3 here. I could definitely hunt it down with knight g4. But at what cost, you know? Am I playing that type of thing? It's a fairly fast time control, 5+5, so I'm not gonna sit here and try to play perfect moves. I get myself in trouble doing that like way too much. No, thank you for the 10 cheer. One of these days someone's gonna take out Camel Culture's record, but 200 is a lot to ask for. I really appreciate every donation you guys make. Also via PayPal. Last year we had a lot of donations. Not a lot, but you know, plenty, and I'm thankful for it. Not a lot, just a few. But anyways, it's the thought that counts. MAR. Blue Crow, what's up? We're good. We analyzed one game that Arsenal fan played. It was kind of a tough technical game that wasn't easy for me to analyze in the short span of time. This is the kind of game that you really need like a half an hour to talk about, to be honest, Arsenal fan. I'm just tanking for no reason again. I'm weakening my king side here, g6 in particular. But I thought we might want to take that square away from his pieces, make that bishop a little more uncomfortable on e3. Now he's freeing up the retreat squares. Alright, I don't know. Soltico basically doing nothing in this game. You know, he's you know, lacking in the opening knowledge, so he's a creative player with some good attacking instincts, but he has to be careful in the opening, and that's why he's playing this kind of messed up, weird, made up system, and now he's in a passive position as a result of that. Yes. Okay. Oh no. I made a decision here. But I basically decided that if he plays d5 there, he would be making a really big concession, and his pawn would become artificially isolated on d5. Alright, so we're transitioning to a different structure. There goes the bishop, our favorite friend, the dark square bishop. Interesting approach. So he sold his bishop and he got my pawn to move away from the center, which I guess sold his life for a purpose, that bishop, and my resulting bishop is not that great with that c3 pawn type of structure. So what are we gonna do here? H5 weakens my king side a bit. Not sure if I want to do that, having played already. Another weakening move. Why e6? I mean, I think I just get better control of the white squares, and the dark squares aren't an issue. He doesn't have a dark square bishop. What are we going to do next? I'm trying not to give him any squares, and I don't really have a plan though. It's really very symmetrical. Maybe c4. Then you can play knight d4. Kind of lock it in there. Not sure if I like that. Yeah, all right, we'll do something. I think that pawn on a5 is the reason why I'm doing this. The pawn is a handicap. If that pawn falls off, he's got serious issues. And I was thinking about just taking over the d file and then kind of holding him hostage to his a pawn. But I'm not sure this is really all that great of a master plan. That is a really big nuisance for white though, you know, to not be able to leave that pawn for a moment. If only I could attack it with a knight, I would just pick it right off, right? So we can maneuver knight d7, knight c5, knight b7. And he just blundered. He's going to have to sack a piece for some nonsense. Knight takes g6, I guess. But it's not nonsense. Oh man, what is this? You should have done it the other way. What is this? Sladgie just blundered. It's actually interesting. If you play knight takes g6, you might get enough here. Where does he come up with this stuff? No, but this is enough too. I'm crazy. Okay. Never mind. No, it's actually... It's enough. Sorry, I'm hallucinating. Yeah, I didn't think you were going to get the rook. I'm crazy. Okay, so it's interesting. Material imbalance of rook and pawn for two minor pieces. He doesn't have any entry points. Well, he has d8 actually. No, it's amazing how he conjures up this nonsense, you know, from an awkward-looking position. I guess I walked right into it, to make a long story short, but... Is this even good? Wow. I don't know. No checks, please. I'm not sure if I have enough for an advantage. I probably missed a tactic. I don't know if this is even a good move. Well, it probably is. Feels like it should be. That is a very good question. I have a very good question. Where is it? Sladgie ever think about going for a title? Mar, oh, when you're facing weaker players, you play the same position on calculated style. Against the much weaker players, I just do the routine thing. They just beat themselves. I've told people this like a million times. When you're playing a really weak player under 1600 or 17, you really don't want to take any risks. I mean, they're just going to beat themselves. Even if it's in a drawn king and pawn game, you can just always pretty much count on them doing it, you know. You can always count on them messing it up somehow. So no, you shouldn't do anything different. I think that kind of question, you know, becomes more relevant when you're talking about people like around your own level. I finally got him. Man, he's like trying to cage a tiger. That's pretty much toast. He finally fell for something. Abandoning the D file was his undoing. In a vacuum, the two minor pieces are better. I'm not sure though that he wasn't okay here in this particular example. He walks into the pin to keep his guy protected. That makes sense. So there's nothing better than to just take the Forsaken. Now what we don't want to do is like let him get some kind of weird perpetual check. Or get him taking my A pawn. Oh no, man. You have to play King G2 there, I guess, or Queen D5. But this is just over. You know that. The A pawn will decide the game eventually. Yeah. So all the pawns that are gone. D4, B2, A5. The wrong color. If only I had a white squared bishop, you'd have some few more moves to hang on. But seriously, I'm curious. Like, how good was your position after this gamble, knight F4 move? So Stockfish doesn't go for E5. It just increases its positional advantage with something like rook to D6. Yeah, I actually just miscalculated here. I mean, I thought this was better for me than it was. Yeah, it looks like you've got just enough compensation. Is this the best move? Queen F7? Yeah, it's the only move. The only and best. Knight takes F8, and now apparently I had Knight G4. It's not as good. So it's got you exactly equal here, Soltiga. You had to lose the game a second time from this position. Bishop C5, and then King G2. And here, you know, I was tempted to do some kind of tactic, but it looks like my move was actually best. King G7. And then you're just worse. Alright. Guys, let's go back and do the Nefedov game. He was next. If I forget somebody, let me know. Okay, because that happened last week and I felt kind of bad about it. Holmes Chapel. I love the names of English chess tournaments. Holmes Chapel. Sherlock. Alright. Sherlock Holmes versus Chapel. And Nefedov is white, and Patrick Bennett is black. Black is 2,000 ELO, and black 2,000 ELO, white 1,700 in blitz on lichess. Now, what's up with F4? You don't do that, do you, Nefedov? That's kind of weird. Like, are you going to play the Grand Prix attack now against the Sicilian? I guess to send in a game as well. I mean, Nefedov plays religiously the classical dragon with white against me, and then now he's playing the Grand Prix attack if black plays C5. That's kind of weird. Are you messing around trying new stuff here, Nefedov, or is this... Okay, I mean, a lot of Pierce players aren't going to play C5, but the fact of the matter is that's probably black's best move. Now bishop c4, and we're in some kind of weird closed Pierce, for lack of a better name. The closed Pierce. On bishop d5, the computer says rook a7. Most people would play c6. This is the game. And he is like most people. He put his pawn on c6. I don't know. Maybe c6 is better. There's no reason to play rook a7 here. I'm not even sure that bishop d5 is better than playing bishop a2, to be honest. I mean, isn't c6 a kind of constructive move for black? Theoretically, we can say that c6 is... You could make an argument in some weird way that it's a weakness, but I mean, isn't it just a constructive move on the Pierce? Okay, you're blocking his bishop on b7. It's not a Pierce, it's a modern defense, right? So there's a subtle point to this. You know, bishop d5 makes him play c6, and therefore his bishop on b7 will be obstructed by a pawn on c6. It's interesting. Very fine point. You know, I would have just like probably gone bishop a2, but interesting. Okay, so now there we go. The hippo type of move, e6. It feels interesting. This almost looks like you've got some kind of e5 I would be a little scared of, but I guess it's not quite enough. Yeah, Clash Kids sent in a game, so hopefully we'll get to all the games. d3. d3 is normal. It's like a closed Sicilian where blacks played c6 instead of c5. And now the classic Grand Prix attack, Queen e1. You can also start to do Dutch-like pawn sacrifices with it. It's not even a sacrifice. I mean f5. But I think that in general, you know, the thing about f5 is that it kind of is committal. Maybe, you know, Queen e1 or something is more flexible. Pretty obvious what you're doing if you play that, though, I admit. So knight c3 is also a good move. There we are, my favorite square for the knight in chess, knight b6. Yeah, I mean, I'd probably start to make a case for even knight on bd7 being questionable. Of course, I don't really know what he's going to do, to be honest. But this starts to get awkward. Well, there just can't be any knight b6. You know, this is stupid. I mean, what is that? Where is that going? Are you going to play d5? I don't like knight b6. No, it's just a bad square. But if you'd have queen e2 seems kind of strange as well. But I was mentioning how I don't think Nefedov plays the Grand Prix attack, but I mean, this is just a stock plan here. It breaks the pin with bishop g4 as well. I think we're just going to be able to do the subscribers games. There are quite a few. We have like an hour and a half left, so even the engine likes queen e1. Queen e2 gives him bishop g4. Okay, it's not a big deal, you know. Bishop g4, h3, you get a bishop pair. Your bishop on a2 is strong. Yeah, actually a5 was a good move. So he's trying to do something constructive, and the bishop on a6 could actually make you sorry about putting your queen on e2. And now Nefedov just breaks it with e5, totally changing the character of the game, but maybe he's right. Can't just sit there while the guy breaks through on the queen side. Good, 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 good. We don't want to make that knight on b6 feel like it's worthy. I think that this is a good idea. If we take on d5, we've sold out, and now it's like black is fine. He's got his stupid knight, and it's very valuable. So an excellent decision by Nefedov not to trade pieces in a position with more space, and to leave that knight on a bad square. And then we don't have to worry about b4 anymore, you know, which is really huge. We can No, I just said we don't have to worry about b4, but it's still, it's not actually an active threat. But this was a nice little quiet move, bishop d2. That's all you need to do. And the guy's really coming at you. He's trying to make knight a4 work. Well, a takes b4. Yeah, we can't let him focus on c3, but... Oh, he's pinned on the a file, so it's all bad. Excellent move. Excellent move. And now just bishop b3. Back to where you once belonged. Yep. We're making progress, and black's position looks kind of lame. But now what? It's still not that easy. There we are. He's gone to find the right square now. Queen f2. Which knight, if any? Yeah, I mean, I think here you can consider queen h4 again. I think this is all a matter of timing, but... Okay, white's better. This might not be a bad decision to sell off that bishop for a knight. What's he gonna do? Move it to d7? And now taking on e5 unfortunately runs into knight takes e5. F takes e6 looks awful, but it does open up some pressure on the f file. Takes with the queen, the more normal recapture, and you're just winning the pawn on b4. Nice. Really clean play, and Nefedov should be offering a draw soon. Bishop takes b4, queen f5. He likes to offer draws in winning positions. His favorite hobby. But queen f5 now, there's no good way to defend this f4, so it's still not over yet. You kind of like have to think about the computer suggestion of bishop a5, but I guess he's just going to bounce back here. But we have no good way to defend f4, so we're just going to have to live with it. I guess take on d6 and give him the f4 pawn. No, but you went with knight h4. You're making me eat my words. I didn't think we had a way to defend f4. We have a way to defend f4. Nice. Knight h4. And everything is piled up. And Nefedov is 1700 in blitz on lichess. I mean, he's just absolutely lampooning this guy. Rook takes a8 isn't optimal. I agree. But it draws him away from the king side. There's nothing going on the a file. In a vacuum, yeah, you don't want to give him control of an open file, but it just doesn't matter here at all. His rook is basically out of play. There's no entry points. No. I mean, you don't want to cede files, but it doesn't matter in this position. Nice game, man. You just paralyzed him. There's got to be some tactics somewhere. f5. This is kind of slow and clumsy. Yeah, I would have played f5. That looks like you got to go for the jugular, man. Nefedov is doing the Karpovian kind of one square at a time, but sometimes you just got to let loose. This looks awfully strong to play f5. You're up a pawn already, so trading essentially the e5 pawn for a different pawn. I mean, this is overwhelming. f5. g5 is practically forced. He has to do that, and it's ugly. And there's all sorts of tactics. e6, just creating a square for our wonderful knight. Look at that. Rook f8. And then you've got your move. I mean, then again, queen f3 immediately. Your move is still interesting. He's hunting the tactics there. e6 and then g4. I'd rather not play g4. You can play f5 without g4 and not weaken your king side as much. That's actually worthy of consideration. On the other hand, okay, it's not that big a deal. But you're losing a pawn in the meantime. Oh no. So f5. He didn't do it. I thought you were going to like go f5 now. He's just not. Man, he's... Oh, he did g5. Wow, why not just take this pawn here? Why do we need to play g5? Oh, his h6 pawn is hanging. Interesting. Okay. And so it's a really tough struggle now. Nefida was like clearly winning, and somehow, I don't even know how, Black's equal. God. Let's just hope it doesn't get any worse. h4, f6, queen e4. Why do we have to release the tension here with h takes g? Even queen g6 check, trading queens would be a slightly better ending for white. c3 is a good waiting move. So I don't think you should release the tension in this position, though the computer says it's the best move now. You're going to take on g5? Yeah, okay, well that's a reason to play it. You have bishop takes g5, we'll do it. And now he goes there, check. That was apparently just a blunder. So I think he didn't see that you could retreat your bishop back to e3. What if he takes on b2? Now, material is equal. The engine loves bishops. Like Stockfish loves bishops, so white has a 1.7 pawn advantage. Might be slightly exaggerated. But here, now f5. And, well, is that bad? Oh no. It's hard to believe this can be a catastrophic mistake. God. So if you play queen f3, you're just winning. Black is paralyzed to that pin. And you're threatening like knight f4, I guess. So queen f3 resigns practically for black. Kind of an exaggeration, but let's say king h8, bishop takes d4, c takes d4, king f2. And the black king is in trouble, not the white king. But so poor Pavel just like exchanged a piece that looks totally like an innocent move that I wouldn't really want to play, but probably time pressure. And then apparently he's like lost here now. It's just a simple two-move tactic. That's so disgusting. God. How could we lose this position? Oh my God. Very, very upsetting. You outplayed this guy from beginning to end and then lost on a one-move blunder, likely in time pressure. After 22nd move, you had 20 seconds on your clock. That's sick. Oh man. All right. But I really like the idea of playing f5 in that one position. You know, that looks like thematic, you know, to play f5 for white. Let's go back to the challenges. I'm going to take this against Ayeste. And I want to thank all you guys for subscribing. We're going to be streaming till 9:30. Tomorrow I have a stream too, Friday morning blitz and rapid chess. Excuse me. It was really sad that he lost on this dumb blunder. That's like totally unnecessary exchange. It's also kind of unfair how one bad move can go from like absolutely winning to absolutely lost. It seems like normally, like when you make one mistake, you go from like winning to draw, somewhere in between. You know, it takes two mistakes to lose. But in Nefidov's case, he went from like +6 to -3 in one move. Just an innocent looking exchange on d5. Ayeste is not a subscriber. Okay. Well, I'll start a lawsuit against him. No, he usually was a subscriber, so I'm going to take the challenge anyway. So g4, this is a new, not new, but, you know, kind of like interesting line. It was always considered kind of bad for white, but I don't think it's clearly bad. But anybody who subscribed multiple times to the stream, you know, I'm going to play them sometimes. But thanks for giving me the heads up. Okay, so c5 right away is interesting. Let's try that. I don't know that this is theory in this exact position, but I'm going to try it. I've seen very similar moves. And now knight c6 is interesting. We go for active play. If queen takes d5, bishop takes g4, and we're all over him like a bad suit. I think that c5 is a tad more active than the routine e6 type of lines. After the game, we can check it. It definitely exists in a similar line. I wasn't sure if it's right here or not. There can be transpositions, and Soltigo is asking about bishop e4. That is totally an option, I guess. But bishop e4, f3, bishop g6, e6 is probably one of these weird pawn sacrifices that can be quite dangerous. So my first idea was some ridiculous, stupid primitive idea of playing like knight b4, but I mean, this seems like the right way to deal with the situation. He has a lot of weaknesses. I mean, I really should, at the very least, get my pawn back. Do I play and teach chess for a living? Yeah, I mean, I really have been full-time for the last 2 years. Prior to that, I was playing poker full-time for like 7 years. And prior to that, I was doing chess full-time. So I've been back and forth. But we're back to chess now. I have knight takes e5 here, which is a really kind of neat little move. But maybe we just play e6. I mean, e6 is a little more forcing than knight takes e5. We're on the c5 pawn. This is weak, this is weak. It's like a clinic in weak pawns. I mean, this position is... c4 actually makes it worse. He's got more weaknesses after c4, and the bishop doesn't have b5 anymore. So I think it's getting worse for white rather than better after c4. And we've got like all of our pieces developed. I think this is going to be a really ugly, really ugly, really fast. Almost losing immediately, like to knight b4, right? What is his defense against knight b4? Forget about material. I'm playing for, I mean, pawns. Yes, I want material, but I also want to mate him. Maybe I didn't play the best move, I'm not sure. Knight d4 seems illogical, right? So now you just check, and then we're playing bishop takes c5 check, and then king g3, and I could do pretty much anything. Taking his rook, I guess, was my default plan. It's not the what's the benefit in bishop takes c5 check? It develops a piece, I guess. There's other interesting moves like bishop f5. I was actually thinking about bishop f5, and if rook b1, we can just discover on the rook on b1. But then he'll have knight e4 blocking the threats. Well, anyway, I guess I played like kind of too fast. Wow, Clash Kid, what? You donated 1,000. 1,000? Oh my god. We got 1,000 donation cheer from Clash Kid. He crushed Camel Culture's record of 200. That is awesome, Clash Kid. Thank you so much. That is going to be there for a while, I think. The 1000 cheer from Clash Kid. I guess he liked this game. But I was thinking about Bishop E4, and you know, the thing is, like, Rook B1, Discovery, and then Knight E4, and I can't actually win anything. So I'm gonna have to take the Rook. And he's got a little bit of compensation here. This is a bit awkward. Pawn takes, yeah. So I have to get my pieces out, and I have to get the knight out of A1. Definitely a little awkward for black. Yeah, I was worried about knight E4 there. I think this way is a little easier. So I'm sure that I missed a better approach. What the heck happened? Yes. I see, so he's going to go with... Do I have another move here? Yes. Maybe. Alright, I guess he's going to sink a knight on D6. That's his plan. But it's okay. I guess I can live with it. He's got a lot of space. I can always take the knight on D6, obviously. And there's also Rook D1. That could be kind of awkward for white. We're just up in exchange. It's not a massive excuse me, it's not a massive amount of material. Pin it and win it. That's what they say. No, knight C3. I'm like having hallucinations. He can play knight C3. Not really a good move here. Bishop G5 maybe. I'm up a clear exchange. I wish there had been a better way to do this. $1,000. Clash Kid, awesome, thank you. 1,000 cheer. It's probably lost for white, but as I said, it was just a little bit more awkward than I had hoped to get here. Now, what I want to do is open it up. So F6 with the F file, and his king could actually get into danger. He's pinned to the knight on G1. He can't afford to lose any more material. I mean, he's down in exchange as it is. But I want to check after the game, you know, if this move order I used with C5, if it's not superior to the routine E6. I'm not really an expert in the Caro-Kann. I'm not really an expert in anything. But I've been playing the Caro-Kann off and on all my life, to some extent, never with great success. No, thanks again for the 2,000 cheer. That's awesome, guys. Check it out. It's beautiful too. It's like a diamond up there in the sky. All right. Awesome donation. So King G2. Right, we're taking. I could check and check him back. There are a lot of good moves for black. Blah, whatever. What am I again? Blah blah blah. Maybe. Getting my pieces out. Knight C2. Yeah, that's nasty. I have some really nasty threats with knight E3 check. But most importantly, we're getting all of our pieces coordinated. Bishop, rooks, knight, everybody in the game. I knew there was some move that disturbed me slightly. I guess that was it. Why don't I have like a forced win anywhere, ever? This feels like a good move. It's not that easy to put him away. Guys, thanks for joining me for the subscriber stream. I'm going to try to do some more of these game analysis and make some, alternate between game analysis and blitz. We've got Soltigo, Clash Kid, at least. Please forgive me please remind me if I forgot somebody's game. We've got another hour yet to stream, so there's plenty of time. But anyway, it's beautiful, the 1000 thing up there. I really thought you were going to play King H1, and this way it allows me to exchange. But is there something better? Yes, playing for mate is usually a good idea. Knight E1. That looks kind of brutal. Playing for mate. No direct win. If white defends correctly here. But you got to admit that playing for mate is nice. Risky line. I mean, G4 was always considered bad. I think Tal actually played it in a game, the 4G4. But it was always under a cloud. Oh, it's mate anyway, isn't it? That's kind of funny. Didn't even see it in advance. I thought Rook H2 actually solved the problem. But that is going to be mate. So let's check it out. G4, Bishop D7, etc., etc. I was looking at a slightly similar line. H4, H6, G4, Bishop D7, F4, C5 earlier this week. And obviously it's almost the same but slightly different, So let's see. Bishop F5, G4. Bishop D7 is the main move. Your Bishop E4 is a move, and it's more, I think, risky. Soltigo. It might be better. Apparently here C4 is the move that they all play. Okay, so this is like an attempt to kind of transpose, and there's practically no games. Some guy played H5, but my C5 is the best move according to Stockfish. Alright. This transposes. So this transposes to Yefimenko versus Mamedyarov. And Boguslavsky. There's another Boguslavsky. It's weird. D takes C5. Knight C6. This is the game. And so you're supposed to play like, I know F4 I was how does that work? Looking at something with Bishop Queen C8. What? No. F4 I don't know. I haven't looked at this. Okay, F4 is interesting. The engine likes Queen takes D5 best. And then Bishop takes G4. Wow, this is an Ariane Terry game. We actually followed an Ariane Terry game, some kind of junior championship from 2015, I guess. Oh man, apparently white is okay here. I thought this is just awful for white. But Popov versus Tari 2015, with knight c3, white is okay. And only with knight c3. Tari. Very, very strong. What is he? Norwegian, right? So that's where it stands. You can't. Yeah, c4 is just a horrific blunder. Apparently, I have queen c7. That's even stronger than what I did. No, the engine's changing its mind now. What's wrong with e6? You could survive with some move here. f3. Anyway, it's not good. All right, guys, let's go back to game analysis. I take back request, no engine. You take back request, no engine for this analysis. All right, we'll hold off on that for a second. I want to do, let's see, Clash Kid. Clash Kid just made a huge beautiful diamond cheer. So we'll definitely do this game next. All right. This is Clash Kid, a live game. I'm gonna close that computer analysis. I'd rather not know what the final result was. Clash Kid, we're gonna do your game. I play this so much with white. I'm assuming you're black here. What about Yefimenko? Yefimenko. Wait, stress on the I. Yefimenko. Thank you, Nefidov. Yefimenko. Nefudov. I like how you guys are trying to figure out how much the donation was for. Let's see. So, knight c6, g3, g6. You're black in this game, right? We should flip the board. I mean, I know that you're black because you don't really play the English with white, for sure. Bishop g7, castles, although you might want to think about it. So here, you know, there's a lot of interesting lines. I don't know if you can do anything else, but I kind of like, if you're going to play this line, I kind of like castles, d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, knight g4. That line's fun, but you really have to be well prepared. And another, the move that's really popular now is queen a5. There were a couple games with this in the Heteni Memorial I just played. Marcus Robbie played it, and almost his position looked pretty shaky against Gladora, but he managed to draw. That's another line that's interesting. But after you play d6 and white plays a3, he's basically saying, oh, I'm going to play this like nothing system. White doesn't really get an advantage, I don't think, you know, with this a3 type of setup. It's just an admission of equality, but it does keep the pieces on the board. But I think objectively, I mean, there's no question this is actually, white should play it right away, like d4. This is the only way, you know, for white to really get an advantage, and if he can get an advantage at all. But I think that the question for black is, if he's a King's Indian player, you know, maybe you ought to play setups based on d6. But let's think about the move order now. I mean, what else can we do, really? We have to play bishop g7. If white plays d4 straight away, I had some interesting game where black castled here, and I think that, yeah, we've got a lot of games there. That's okay. Like, this taking on c5 doesn't look like a big deal, but it's maybe like a safe way for white to play, though. Honestly, queen a5, castles, not that different from the other line, but a little different. Queen takes c5. This is like a super safe line for white. But I think if you're really aggressively inclined, then maybe, you know, you play this King's Indian, or you'd go into a fianchetto King's Indian after castles d6. That's probably the sharpest way for black to play, without making any concessions. So instead, though, he doesn't play d4, and it's not as critical. a3, rook b8. I don't know about rook b8 if it's the most accurate. I think you're supposed to play like a6. Is there any problem with the fact that your king is still on e8 here? There's a Tamir Nabadi game. That guy's quite strong. So I think you should be ready to meet b4 with b5. Apparently he can play b4 here. Wow, that could be significant. I mean, if b4 is good here, that would kind of mess up the idea of a6. Pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn, knight takes b4, sacking a pawn. This is a totally new position. Wow. Although this idea exists in positions where black plays differently, that's an interesting question. So you played rook b8. Maybe there's something to be said for that move order. But maybe he can sack a pawn here with b4. No? I don't know. I mean, if he beats you to the punch on the queen side, it seems like white should be slightly better. And I saw a Giri game very recently where, like, I don't know, it was like Giri Polgar. Practically the exact same thing. If you ever want to see like a stylistic clash, speaking of Clash Kid, like correct versus incorrect, it was like Giri against Judith Polgar, and he just, man, he's unbelievable. Like, a lot of people gave him a lot of shit about like a lot of draws in the candidates tournament 2 years ago, but I mean, the guy is a human computer. He's unbelievable. If you want to learn how to play like English opening or something, I mean, Giri is unreal. But no, that's actually the way white should play, and I think he's got a better game there. But your opponent suddenly changes gears with d4. I guess it's not bad, but it doesn't really gel with a3, you know? It doesn't make sense. Yeah, I understand you don't want to play b5. You're not going to play b5 with your rook on a8, but the question is the move order. You know, maybe it's better to go a6 first. a6 is a more, you know, universally useful move, perhaps, than rook b8 in this type of structure. I'm not sure. But this is strange, like his inclusion of a3, your inclusion of rook b8. Your move doesn't have much value, but his move could have negative value if, like, the b3 square becomes weak, or if his c4 pawn needs protection. The fact that he's played a3, you know, could very well end up being like a negative for him. So it could be like rook b8 is neutral, but a3 is actually minus expected value, we could say. You can absolutely exchange on d4, but then there's a problem with your a7 pawn. So this seems right. I mean, if his pawn's on b3 instead of a3, he has a good game here. But a3 and c4, that looks kind of ragged to me. I don't understand, you know, what he's going to do with that. And now, yeah, I like bishop takes. The computer's preferring b takes. Bishop takes is safer, but, you know, this does open your rook on b8. I mean, this is a really big problem piece on d7 that I always talk about in my streams and stuff. But maybe the truth is you can go caveman style. He's committed his king to the king side. You can start to do like h5 and then queen c8 or something like that, and play like miso sabalo or something. If you're so inclined, it's not forced to be a maniac. You could just castle king side. But I think that a lot of aggressive players would try to exploit white's decision to castle first by playing like h5 and turning that against him, if you want to be really ambitious. This is just a safe move. And then e4. You know, so now I think we're gonna, that was a good move, e4 probably. We're gonna transition to a kind of Marazzi. I wonder if you should think about like a5 or something. Probably not. a6, yeah, nothing else to do. So he's converted this into some small advantage. We'd like to play b5, but he has a tactic with e5, so it looks a little awkward. You might have to play knight d7, and that's not what you did. You did queen d7. I don't like queen d7. I don't like queen d7. There's a hole here. Having said it, it may not be that bad. But I was actually thinking knight d7. Does this make sense? It's a little bit passive, though. Admittedly, slightly passive. I mean, you could play a Marazzi type of thing with like bishop takes d4, queen takes d4, queen b6. And, I mean, I don't know. White's a tiny bit better. I almost beat an Australian guy this May in that kind of structure with black. But queen d7 is a bit weird. And then he plays bishop f3. Super strange move. Why not like just the normal Karpovian h3 here? You're going to play b5 now. Yeah, I mean, it's equal, I guess. b5. That looks good. And you can transition over here with the queen. Maybe queen d7 is really good. For me, it was kind of weird at first. I guess he should play like knight d5. Can he do that? Probably knight d5. And then you have to play e6, and he's going to exchange pieces with a very, very tiny advantage for white after like queen d2. I think it's most likely drawish, but unfortunately there's very little you can do to ever play for a win in a position like this. You can win the world championship with all draws. Then Geary has a good chance. No, I don't want to bust on him, man. He's just too awesome a player. It's impressive not to lose a single game, you know, in the world championship candidates tournament. So, anyways, he's awesome, man. Geary is like a machine. Queen d7, bishop f3, and then rook d8. Rook d8, not a good square for the rook. But if you're going to play e6 later on, I guess it makes some sense. No, why don't you just play b5 here? You didn't make a note about that, but that's the plan. I mean, I really think that this move plays itself. And you, like I said, you might be able to play queen b7. Okay, but it's basically a Marazzi again, with very little winning chances objectively. You could give up the bishop, try to play with knight and bishop against two bishops, where what you'd like to do is trade his dark squared bishop off and have like a good knight versus bad bishop. This bishop could be kind of bad in some situation. H5 is the engine suggestion. I don't know. I like H5 for many reasons, but white could get an outside pawn here. I mean, that's the only danger. Something like a passed pawn with the bishop supporting it. But I really think you should play b5. I don't like rook d8. And this is kind of passive now. And now he goes knight d5. And you did trade the bishop. But the difference here is massive, I think. I mean, this square is very, very problematic. If there ever happens to be like a rook getting in there, or if the white squares start to fall apart and his bishop somehow gets into b5, you could have serious troubles. But I guess that was the best. You know, it's weird. You could actually play e6 here. Whoa. That's a good question. Can you do this? I mean, I would imagine you were thinking that knight takes there is good. And that's really messed up. I mean, I would have missed this too. So you can just sort of trap it with queen c7. That's awesome. And then if knight a4, you smash his structure. At the very least, with bishop takes a4, with a better game. And that's weird. Wow. So e6, and he has to take on f6. And this would be another one of those classical dragon type positions. It's a draw. I mean, it's just like nobody can win. Anyway, so this got kind of weird. You have to be careful of the c6 square. And he plays bishop back to e2. Okay, it's a solid move. And you're just trying to create a dark square blockade. Now it really looks like it was a Marazzi. And it's probably equal. The only way for you to win now would be on the king side, but that's the side where he has more space. So you're basically playing for a fortress. Unless you can excuse me, unless you can exchange this dark square bishop somehow. I have won positions like this with black, but you're so short of space on the king side. I just don't see how you can maneuver your queen to f8 and maneuver your queen to g7. That looks like the only plan. But even so, you're not going to be able to force an exchange of dark squared bishops. This just looks hard. You're basically just holding the line. No way to get in. And now you did, though. Wow. And black's got entry points on c3, and suddenly white is worse. Wow. He goes for that, rook c3, rook b1, defending the pawn. if you take on a5, if he takes on a5, you take on b3, and you both have passed pawns. Or this move instead, bishop d4 check, even better, and then take on b3 with advantage to black. I guess this pawn could fall. It could fall. Black's clearly better. Where did he go wrong here? I mean, it looks completely fine for white. This move f3 weakened his position a lot. Like, for example, bishop f3. Ironically, that's what he did the first time around. It looks like f3 weakens his dark squares, and that's when you're better. a5 was a good move. This was a good move. And then you're just getting in there. Queen d3 is excellent. And he has no choice. And this is only move. Wow. I mean, that looks scary because you're sacrificing the a5 pawn, but you've got threats against his king now. It's like mate if he takes the pawn on a5. Very typical accelerated dragon. He played what? Bishop h3? And bishop c3. You're not making direct progress. You're threatening knight e1 there. That's really nasty. And actually, that's what you did, right? So he has to play some kind of crazy bishop g2 to barely hold on. Yeah, knight e1 looks like it's winning. It's just winning now, yeah. And it's too strong. Game over. Nice win. I mean, I think that he's holding there, you know, in that initial endgame, white was fine. But he couldn't afford to make any weaknesses, and you punished him really quickly and accurately. So it was a good game. Yeah, you have bishop d4. That's what happened, like, in all the variations when he takes on a5. Yeah, nice game. No, excellent. Like, it says you made like 3 inaccuracies. That's huge. Even for a long game. I mean, 17 centipon with 3 inaccuracies. Geary would be like 8 centipon loss with 1 inaccuracy. That would be like a typical Geary game. Alright, Clash Kid, you're up next. I'm going to play as many of the challenges from subscribers as I can get in. Shouldn't let you into d3. Yeah, no, it's clear. Let's thematically play c4. But he played knight f6. Maybe that was the move order in the game now. It wasn't c4, c5, right? Okay, let's do something different. I'm going to play g3. I think that, you know, theoretically, like the Rubinstein variation is probably black's best. Alright, anyways. So here we have different options with white than in that variation. I guess I like e3. It's just a way to play. It's nothing special. I haven't played this on the stream in a long time, this particular variation, I think. I think I had a game with... I had a lot of games with Grandmaster Tibor Fogarashi. He's like a Fianchetto, a Grunfeld player. We had a number of... Over the years, a number of games where I've tried pretty much every setup I could play against an anti-Grunfeld nature against him. But I mean, the setups are different with knight on e2. I wanted to give Clash Kid a look at something different. With that game, the last game, so fresh in his mind. With knight on f3, this will hopefully be a little harder for him to deal with. Yeah, it seems like a lot of people in the stream are playing symmetrical English. And I always thought it was boring, but I started playing it myself like 10 years ago. After never having played it in my earlier career. Now the question is d4 or not d4. I mean, I feel like d4 is thematic. But maybe a waiting move as well. h3. I guess we'll go with it. I mean, it's very straightforward, but not the only way to play. Notice I haven't put my rook on b1 here. He gave up his central pawn on c5. I guess that's is that a central pawn? I guess I don't know what to call it. The pawn on c5. It's not a strong. Is it a strong point? Yes, it is kind of a strong point, isn't it? Rook b8. This actually resembles more or less a reverse English line that I played on occasion with black. But I don't know about taking on d4 for black. I mean, it might be a mistake. I don't really know what to recommend. There's got to be other ways to play, just like bishop d7 or something, without making the capture. Logical play by black now. a6, going for b5. Security alert from Norton Antivirus. Thank you for that. I feel like I recently had a game along these lines. I also had a strange creeping sensation. I saw Aronian play something similar not that long ago with white against somebody. Queen d2, b3 is kind of passive. Queen d2, b5. Queen d2, b5, c5. That's what I'm really wondering about. Rook c1, b5, c5. That's another interesting idea. Rook c1, b5, c5. Can we do that? I feel like this is not easy, you know. Did I have anything better? Maybe I should have just considered like d5. d5, knight e5, it's never good for me, is it? He has d5, knight a5. That's much stronger, probably. d5, knight a5 for black. I'm not sure about this move. I was thinking about queen d2 for a long time, but I was concerned that the knight would hit my queen later on with knight e5, knight c4. But I'm not sure this is like better, all that much better for me in that type of variation either. I don't know if this is even anything for white. I mean, it seems logical to get the rook off the long diagonal, but there's also something kind of weird about this. Guys, tomorrow morning, Friday, we're doing blitz and classical chess. Whatever Clash Kid is doing in this game. What's the best defense against the English opening? I don't think there's a clear best. I mean, it's really a matter of style. I think that you can make an argument that c4, e5 theoretically should be the best. Now I have d5 now. I mean, that really looks like it might be legit. Interfering with his plans. He was thinking about some nasty queen h5 type of stuff. But I don't know. I'm looking at b3 and trying to trap his knight on e5, which will make his life awkward. Probably not enough awkward, though. I don't know about this. This is kind of weird. Alright, I don't want to tell him all the things I'm thinking about, but I think Clash Kid's only problem is time. You know, if he plays a little faster, I mean, if he has time, he plays very, very strong. This may have been, maybe d5 was even a mistake by me. I'm just not sure. Knight e5. Don't have much in the way of tactics here. I was just planning on playing b3 and then f4. But now I'm having very serious second thoughts about it. Let's see. Knight e5, b3, bishop f5, knight d4. And then it gets complicated. Bishop d3, knight c6, knight takes c6, queen takes d3. That looks okay for black. And I don't know. Yeah, now do I have any way to change the plan here? The plan was b3. I have to do it. No, it's just about tactics. This bishop f5 is a really annoying move that I didn't bother to look at in advance. And the problem is that b5, f4 seems to win material. So anyway, like, he doesn't have a lot of choices here. I would imagine it's the only way to not lose a piece is bishop f5. And now for our next trick, knight a4, threatening bishop b6. No, I could play g4. Maybe that's not bad. I mean, just simply g4. And we go for space. The final frontier. Maybe we're getting a little overextended, but c'est la vie. If we can get a really nice outpost for our pieces on a knight on c6 or something, it's catastrophic for black. I think that he's forced to play a kind of passive setup here. I'm just sort of lucky. I mean, this wasn't really part of the plan, but I'm not sure, you know. This is bad now. He's got b5, so I have to watch that. There's no knight getting to c6 in this position. We need a little work on that. And then, how's my counterattack coming on the king side? Not really existing. There's bishop f3. He's going to break out with b5. I mean, can I restrict him? a4. Just, he's threatening knight takes g4. Nope. No knight takes g4. So I can play a4, but my b pawn becomes super disgusting. Is this really gonna hold? a4, queen b4? That doesn't look right. That doesn't look right, kids. I don't like it. I can play bishop d2. We're getting into time pressure. This is like, not even sure what the hell I'm doing. You could have played b5. No, you couldn't play b5. Alright. Never mind. Okay, this pawn is hanging, but it's not really significant right here. We can keep him tied up. That's the key. But how to do that? I don't know. It's going to get unclear. Yeah, I thought he should have played b5 probably, even if it means he has to sack up, even if it means he has to sack material. But h6 is an interesting move. It's like a hedgehog move. I've got a lot of space, but he gives himself a good square there. On h7, hedgehog, knight retreat. That's very, very smart. And in g5 lines, the pawns become kind of fixed, and he gets an outpost on e5 when I try to do that. Next up, I could do h4, I guess. Then he has g5. Let's go ahead and go for it. This is a little bit crazy, maybe a lot, but I want to break it down with g5. All right, he retreated directly, but that's different. We need to think. Time to think. b4, knight e4. How about that? Or just g5. All right, screw it. I don't know what to do. We'll make him have to think. g5, grabbing space. If he doesn't play like h5, if he opens the h-file, he'll have to worry about future h-file invasions. This is a very dynamic move, but I'm not sure if it's good. Getting his knight to a good square. Remember what happened to his opponent last game. We have to be very careful not to let that happen to our king. But we're taking space. We're not messing around on the king side. We didn't give him this square either. We've got the d5 monster knight coming. And now he played queen c5. I'm expecting knight c5, and he played queen c5. So it's like he's looking for an exchange of... Looks like he's looking for an exchange of queens, but I don't mind that too much. I guess I'd rather not, but I don't have anything special against it. All right. Can I avoid the exchange of queens maybe with queen c2? Something to think about. I'm not sure if it's a good idea, but I've got a better position here. I mean, I don't think I need to do anything special. His knight is bad. His structure is slightly worse, and if I trade queens, at least I'm not going to get mated. I also have bishop g4, don't I? Oh, there is that move. I didn't see that, but that's going to be a serious problem. I guess I had that last move. Would be good to see that last move. That's pretty much lights out. Oh, no, it's not lights out, because, yeah, it's probably still lights out, like bishop g4. He could play f5, pawn takes, rook takes f6, no. It's probably strong, like right away. Aha, so knight b6. Tactical blunder, or genius tactic. Bishop e3. Knight takes d5. He found a resource here, but I have b4, right? Does that at least work? He still has a defense to that. I mean, that's perverse. He even has a defense to that. My God. That's an amazing move. Knight b6, he found that? Oh my God. Defending against the threat of bishop g4 with knight b6. Bishop e3, knight takes d5. I mean, that's just insane. We have a small advantage, but it's amazing that he found a way to hold on there. I mean, knight b6 might have been like the only move. Literally. I mean, maybe he could have played rook e8. I don't know. Could he play rook e8 just back? But it's very passive. Knight b6, he has to see all those tactics with like knight takes f4 check and takes on d3. Yeah, this is only move. So, all right, What are we doing now? C5 or something weird? I've got no tactics against him. No, C5 just like blunders. What am I doing? Why am I not better here? I mean, it's very strange. He's hanging B7. But it's tricky because he has that insane check. We should be winning on the queen side. Lord Jesus Christ. Lord Jesus Christ, I don't think you're going to make it today, man. For the subscriber stream. Off to the races. Knight E5. Can I go here? Yes, he found the defense. Bishop F2. Why don't I just check first? Yeah. Man, that was tough. Knight B6 I still think was an awesome move. Let's see. That position, which looks so critical, where black was really compressed. Here. The computer wants me to take on H6. It's a move I didn't even consider. Or H5. Just basically, like, don't do anything in the middle of the board. H5. I'm sitting there looking for, like, a really forcing move. And so I play B4. But let's check the last move. Okay, he played knight b6 here. And apparently he should just go queen d4 straight away. I thought I was just winning there with bishop g4, though. I mean, that's the weird thing. What am I missing here? Queen takes d4, bishop takes e7. I thought he just lost. Yeah, so the engine just wants to give me the piece. Oh, but I'm not threatening to take the piece because you have rook e2 check. That's cute. So he can play like rook e4 and defend that. Crazy. All right, guys. Not easy though. Not easy. I'm not up to the geary par yet. Back to game analysis. We have time for one more. So Soltigo. Oh, this is Ayeste's game. All right, let's try to get these games in. Sorry, this is Ayeste's game. We've got like, wow, Ayeste played a perfect game. It's a bullet game and you played 0-0-0. Man, 2+1 bullet. This is Ayeste's game. Something you practiced with me? We played this line like once. Have a nice evening. Thank you for the cheer. So Carlsen Magnus, his favorite line against the Sicilian. I told you guys last summer an old master I had played over 20 years ago, Carl Magnuson, joined the stream one time. Little did he know what his future would hold. So it's all theory, and Magnus is not Magnus. This is Ayeste against Colin. 95 novelty, not developing the pieces and not playing for freeing breaks. 95 is a bad move that doesn't do anything. And Ayeste just plays b3. Transposing to a Rogelio Antonio game. And then, I don't know. A6, okay, so this could be a transposition too. The knight doesn't have any squares, Holmes. Why can't white just play f4? Oh, it has a square. I'm an idiot. Alright, it has a square. I'm used to the last game when there was a reason why he didn't have c6 available. There was a bishop there or something? What was there? What was on c6 last game? And so I guess it just goes for bishop h6, trading pieces. Yeah, I mean, here you could consider something like maybe knight e2, avoiding exchanges. But he does the direct approach. Okay. So rook d1. This is really nice. And he's just dropping a pawn. Well, no, he's got rook c6. Never mind. But you have e5. Now knight e8 is forced. And then knight e4. You didn't play knight e4. You played the second best move. The best move, according to the engine. I'm surprised this guy didn't report Ayesta for being a computer. You better be careful with games like this, man. I mean, if you do this too often, especially in bullet chess, people are going to get suspicious. But everybody plays a perfect game here and there. I don't know. I would have played knight e4 because it's putting like a new piece bearing down on d6. I think that's a little more accurate, technically. He played king h7, so f6 would have been a better try. That's amazing, though. You're lucky because you have this amazing move knight e4 now, and if pawn takes pawn, you have that. This is the only reason why it's okay for white. Has that tactic queen takes e5 with a very good endgame. But black missed f6. We had a game against somebody on my stream who did a similar mistake. He played king h7 when he should have played f6 in a line like this. It's over now. This is just game over. That's amazing, Ayesta, like basically perfect game. This was 3 months ago. Alright. Yeah, it's pretty simple, but I mean, there were some nice tactics there. So, back to Soltigo. Did you send in a game here? I take back. Oh, this is I take back. This isn't you, Soltigo. This was I take back's request. I thought you were taking back your request for no engine. I thought you like previously requested no engine and you were taking back your request. Now I understand it's I take back's game. I'm a little bit slow. All right. So this is our other subscriber I take back. But do we have a color on that? Do you have any idea? Is I take back still here with us? That was an amazing game though for 2-1 bullet, Mr. Ayeste. Yes, it was a straightforward kind of system that you've played a lot, and there's not that much going on in the position, so it's possible to play 0-0-0. You can tell me that you lost. Okay. All right. No computer. I'm gonna turn it off. That you lost, so black resign. So we'll look at this from black's perspective. Scotch. Oh, Scotch Gambit, okay. The Jinji Hashrili videos system. It's totally playable, but nothing special for white. And everybody knows it because Roman put out that VHS system on the, on the Roman forum or whatever, like 20 years ago, which was a really popular video series. There's just all these people playing this system with white for a long time. And now, though, you decided to play knight f6, which is like the main move. I mean, you can definitely play bishop c5. I mean, other moves are passive, going into Hungarian defense or something. But he castles, so the Roman is promoting the line e5, which is fine for white, but it's like equal. That's the main line. 1600 games equal. It is hard to win for either side, I would say. But white played castles, and so now things get interesting. This is like a prehistoric variation, right? I mean, so knight takes d4, rook e1, d5, the Max Lang, right? Bishop takes d5. Oh, you played knight c3. I mean, he played knight c3. I mean, I don't know much about this. You know, all I know is like what they teach me at chess school. You know, I know that this has long been the main line of the Max Lang, and I guess it's like theoretically. I thought the last time I checked it was like a tiny bit better for black. Historically, if you look at games from 100 years ago, I guess white scored better. But black has the more dynamic chances. I mean, black has the bishop pair, and he's also a pawn up. So I think that although there were a lot of like famous games and stuff historically, black is the one that has a tiny bit of the better chances in this line. But your opponent instead played knight c3, which is a move I never really analyzed. Only Pavel Blatny would play this, apparently, along with one b3 followed by f4. At one point, Blatny just stopped playing normal openings, but this is actually an old game from 1986. So, okay, it's kind of a fancy move, and I mean, I don't know the theory. It looks like you know, if you take on c3, you're getting ripped apart by bishop takes d5. But maybe even that's not so bad, apparently. You can just do this. So there's more than one way to skin a cat, and this is also like a viable way for black. You could even play bishop e6 right away, so you basically have like 3 different ways to play where black is okay. So you take here, rook takes e4 check. I've seen this like once or twice. Knight takes d4. I don't know, I thought I might have seen it relatively recently. Another Blatny game against Shinkovich. I swear I saw this somewhere recently. In the last year or so, I saw a game in this line. Yeah, I guess. Sorry. There are very, very rarely games with 0-0-0 mistakes in 2-minute chess. I mean, even by masters, it's pretty rare. I get suspicious when people are 0-0-0 in rapid games. I swear I saw this recently. Okay, bishop d6, bishop f4. Apparently queen c8 was played in a couple games, but that looks weird. I mean, this much has got to be normal. And now you just castle and it's equal. Bishop takes, pawn takes, rook takes d6. So I think evaluating this position is really pivotal. This bishop versus the knight, and your pawn's up on c4. The pawn on c4, you know, you could argue it was a weakness, but it's actually cramping white and makes this pawn on b2 look kind of weak. I mean, I think at the end of the day, what are the weak pawns here? I mean, actually, these pawns look primed for falling. If any pawns on the board were to fall, it would be like the b2 or c2 pawn. So this doesn't seem like a clear cut of better knight against bad bishop. It looks like the c4 pawn gives you space. I think black stands better here. This move feels a little passive, queen e7. I mean, you could actually play more aggressive moves. I guess queen h4. I mean, I would be looking at everything here. Queen h4, queen f6. Queen f6 is logical to hit b2 indirectly. But it's also prone to being attacked. You know, and finally like queen g5. So maybe you can play a more aggressive move than queen e7 here. That's my first idea. Voltron. White played queen d4 in Balthazar against Voltron. Rook d4 is passive, and that pawn's, as I said, it's not a weakness. But Balthazar played queen d4, which is much more active than rook d4. I think that makes more sense. It gives you the file. So black is better now. I guess it's still not a big deal, but I would prefer black slightly. And then you go for this pawn, but there's a back rank weakness. And I mean, maybe you're neglecting the back rank weakness here. We might have to throw in something like h6 or g6, although that weakens the dark squares. Are we going to be punished? Now he played passively, but I was expecting white to come up with like rook d1 here. But again, I mean, it doesn't, maybe it doesn't matter. I mean, if you're playing h6 and the next move, he doesn't have a perpetual, he's going to get tied down to the b2 pawn. But rook b1 looks kind of dumb, you know, to be honest. Okay, he kicks you out. I don't know where to go, though. b6 might be considered because you're staying on b2. a5 is more mobile in general, but it lets his rook free, you know, so maybe queen b6 is better. And now h3, queen g5, threatening, but this is very, very nice. You're kind of double threat. Bishop takes and rook d2, queen f3, defending threat 1. Now I said that pawn was weak, but this pawn became weak. So that's the issue now. I didn't really list that pawn as a weakness. Maybe you just play b6 or something. Okay, you play rook d7, and then knight e4. And then there's some squares for his knight. You stay active with queen e5, I think, here. You play queen d5. It's not a bad move, but I think somehow I like queen e5. Staying on b2, staying on the c5 square also. I don't know if it would have made a difference. Ironically, if you had played queen e5, rook e1 wouldn't have been possible because of f5. And then you just try to shake his knight off. But yeah, it's natural. It looks like a strong piece. I don't know. And this is better for black. You know, you can only like win this, I think. You can't really lose. c3 sacking a pawn is kind of natural, but maybe not the best move. I guess you should just play b5. You tried c3, it's more active, but I'm afraid that it was unnecessary. I mean, it's tempting, but the problem is that your king is kind of far away, and so, I don't know. Rook d1, I'm not sure either. King f8, maybe just bringing your king to the center would be best. I'm afraid he's coming down, right? Getting some active play. First he checks you away. King f8 would have been better, and now he checks you away and then rook there. So, I mean, it's probably a draw with accurate play, but it's getting kind of close now. Still probably a draw. King g6. After king g6, you probably play, you know, you're going to play 3 pawns on the king side against rook pawn, which is a theoretical draw. And that's what you got. Alright, well now you need to get your rook behind his pawn. And I think h5 is not really necessary here. It's not a bad move, but I think the first priority would be to... Well, actually it doesn't matter. He's tied down to that. I'd probably play king g6 in this position. Yeah. Okay. I think I would feel best about rook b3. Well, does it matter? This is a bit weird. You can't get your rook behind his pawn. It becomes kind of tricky. But I think I like your position now. It's like a draw. First thing, get behind the pawn. You have to get behind the pawn. And then you're going to be able to draw this. It's still not that easy, but it's a draw. Yeah, now you're behind the pawn. And now you want to keep his king occupied. It looks like this should be a draw. And he's smart not to push a7 because a7 is a dead draw. And you cut him off. My friend Dragon Kosic had descending against Atzel Gergo in May. I think he did something like f6 g5. I think you can play actively with the pawns, but it's you have to calculate it carefully. Probably f6 g5, and then now you better run for that pawn really fast. You're just doing nothing, but I think you got to keep him. Okay, you can wait one more move. Now you got to go for the pawns, but it's too late, right? No, hold on a second. You waited too long. Maybe you have to play like rook a3 in this position. What does he do now? I think that's a draw, probably. Anyway, it's not an easy endgame, but that should be a draw. You let his king approach to the queen side, and then it becomes a problem. You know, this may well be another story. I mean, I don't know. It may still be a way to draw, but you made life very difficult for yourself, and this is lost now. You have to get the pawn and run back to a3 before he's able to promote his pawn and get his king down there. And the other way is like active defense with f6 g5, trying to create like your own passed pawn on the other side if you can. It's definitely a draw, but you have to be precise. So, but you defended too passively at the end there. Guys, I think we're done for tonight. I'm gonna play. All right, I'm gonna play one more game against Nefedov to close it out. 5+4. Why the 5+4? What's up with that challenge, Nefedov? Why 5+4? Actually, I take back. It's much more complicated if it's like a knight pawn or b pawn instead of the a pawn. Then it's really, really complicated. The best is the b pawn for the side trying to win, and like then the c pawn is also tricky, but not as good because the pawns are closer together. But the a pawn is almost always a draw, with 3 against 3 on the same side. But you can't defend like absolutely passively. Would you give me another chance? What's that? No, I have to go. It's time to end the stream. I wasn't even going to play this game against Nefedov, but we have 4 minutes left till time runs out. Let's see what Nefedov has against the GF Cairo, because I played it against him. I wondered if he was improving his... Last time he got a good setup. I wondered if he had improved his handling. No, he goes bishop c4 again. But right away this time. I think last time he did like bishop f4. This is slightly different, but bishop c4 isn't really considered to be like a normal line. I don't think. I guess he can transpose bishop f5, bishop f4. Karpov played that once in a game against Miles. Maybe that was the game that Karpov lost against Tony Miles. One of the 2 games he lost against Tony Miles. Bishop f4, bishop c4, and Miles just did like, you know, kind of standard setup. So Nefedov, I think the better setup is like knight f3, bishop e2, bishop e3. And rather than putting your bishop on c4, you know, you want to keep c4 free to like advance the pawns later on with c4 and d5. This particular setup, I think, is okay for me. So we're gonna close it down, guys. Last game tomorrow morning. It's Wednesday. Weird Wednesday is the no, not weird. What am I talking about? It's Wednesday. Tomorrow's Friday, man. I need to get some sleep. We need to get some sleep. Tomorrow is Friday. Tomorrow is Wednesday. Whatever. Tomorrow is Friday. That means blitz and classical chess just normally in the morning. 10 a.m. CET here on lichess. Now h3. What's h3 about? Just weakening your king side. Maybe I'll be frisky here and play rook g8. Maybe he wants to play g4 and he's not going to castle king side. I enjoyed playing the g takes f Caro Khan, but I lost a couple of games pretty badly. Like once in my very early career, I lost to Joel Benjamin. A really, really bad game in the last round of a tournament, which was just kind of nightmarish. Maybe this isn't so good for me. Huh. I've walked into a kind of trap. I'm not sure. I'm not sure, to be honest. Rook g8 was weird. I'm going to have to play heads up. But now it looks stupid, like my rook on g8. Maybe I'll sack a pawn with h5. Just give him a free passed pawn. Not a good idea. Alright, so rook g8 looks bad. Pretty much everything looks bad now. Looks like Nefedov is just going to exterminate me again for the 10th time this month. No, I have to go here back. This is not really recommended. I wasted a lot of time. Wasted a lot of time here. So white is better now. Okay. Anyway, I don't even know what day it is. I think tomorrow's like Wednesday. I don't think Nefedov ever gets tired. He's usually here very late at night. I go to bed at like 10:30. Question for those who play over the board. Do you have to write down the moves in something like 20 plus 5? That's a good question. Good question. I don't know where the cutoff, you know, and you're talking about like U.S. Chess Federation tournaments versus versus international tournaments is different, obviously. I mean, this position isn't that easy for Nefedov because he has to, wow, giving me the a2 pawn. It's risky to take that. I like queen a5, I guess. I don't know. Is this good for me? I'm not convinced. Should I have taken with bishop takes a2? Bishop takes a2! Triple exclam. It just looked awkward. Castle's queen side is going to be on the agenda. He certainly can't ignore this anymore. I guess there's something to be said for b5. Gotta like b5. I'll just walk my king over to d8. No, I mean, I'll probably castle queenside anyway in this situation. But I don't have to rush, right? Queen c2 looks kind of awkward. But I can castle queenside there. Queen c2 drops a piece. Sorry. Correction. That's Wednesday. That's Wednesday's move. Queen c2. Dropping a piece. Do you like my bishop on d5? How do you feel about that piece? Is that a good piece? I know there's this one French IM here, Elda, who constantly plays, or at least he was, playing the g takes f Caro-Kann all the time. I just tried to castle 3 squares. That's an awesome move. You know, I just realized that. I never tried to do that. I just tried to play king b8 like it was chess 960 or some weird alien chess. And I think like the knight's not hanging on f3 and it's Wednesday. It's definitely time to end the stream, guys. Tomorrow is Friday. Thank God. I was ill the last week and a half and I think I never really recovered 100%. Maybe it affected my brain. But I feel better. But I still need some more sleep. Don't get enough sleep and you end up like me. Oh no. Now that's kind of cheap, isn't it? Bishop d2? Seriously? No, I don't like that move. That's not nice. Queen a4. You saw what happened to Nefedov in his tournament game. He only lost because of time. He was absolutely massacring the guy. And just the time did him in. Okay, here we've got some bind. We got a bind on him, and we're holding it together in classic G takes F Caro-Kann style. But I lost a couple of really ugly games in this variation that made me like stop playing it. But I think the truth was I just didn't know it well enough. Now, this is an interesting move. He's like stopping me from playing knight b6, which is really pissing me off. Bishop takes a3, anybody? That doesn't work. Knight b6, bishop g7, knight c4. Take the rook. I mean, that's crazy. And I have to go here. Probably best. Yeah, I know I can read your mind. I've played Nefedov enough now that I can kind of predict what he's going to do. Pretty well, anyway. Queen d5 looks interesting. So risky. Alright, we'll play the endgame. I guess I'm slightly worse now. Could I have played f5? It's a very solid move. Oh, man. Complicated. I told him I'm not going to play him any more games if he doesn't raise his rating, which is embarrassing for me to have struggles to beat him. The 1700 blitz rating's got to go. What's up with knight h4? Where are you headed? For g2? Are you going to play f4? Maybe I can stick my knight on d5. He can consider playing b3. Okay, what's going on here? Just keeping me kind of tied up. I have no idea what the best move is. I'm just centralizing my king. He's keeping me paralyzed. Ah. What's that about? Maybe I should have played this before a5. a4. And this reminds me of another game I had with him once, a long time ago. And then we can sack a pawn with like... I can actually play e5 here. It's very risky. I thought sacking a pawn with f5. Well, it's not sacking a pawn. I don't know why I'm saying that. It's just sacrificing my structure. It's almost impossible to break out. No g5. Don't try anything tricky. Gotta be able to beat him somehow. The f4 pawn. Man, this is the stream. We're going overtime with today's. Antonio, I think that's what you're talking about, right? I guess we just have to take back. It's not so easy. Not so easy to win a pawn. I don't know if I want to win the pawn like that. Man. Amazing defense. There's got to be a way to make progress here. Might be able to play h5, h4 at some point, effectively. It's just slightly unpleasant for white. Rook e3. Well, that's subtle. What a move to find. I want his rook to get active again. This is unbelievable. Alright. Let's try a different plan. Wow. I could have played, I guess I could have played rook b1, huh? Oh, he has a defense to that? He's almost not lost in like a million games against me. This is unreal. And I have to be careful not to lose. I'm going to lose. Yeah, whatever. So it's no way to win ever. He defended perfectly. 1700. I just have to play rook f8. I mean, it's the only move. I can't win. I'm just lucky if I can move back and forth and draw. So Nefedov actually played better than me. It looks like 16 cent pawn loss. No, he's going up now. I almost found a way to win. I'm better, but I don't know how to win. It looks like at this point I was winning. I missed a clear win. I don't understand. I don't see the clear win. I don't see it. Here. Ah, g takes f5, rook g8. Okay. All right, I didn't see it. He gave me one opportunity to win a piece there. Yeah. But how you can be 1700 again, Nefedov, it's a little hard to believe. All right, we'll check out his result against me recently. Draw, 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 loss, loss, draw, 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 loss, draw, win. Pretty good record there, buddy. All right, we'll be back tomorrow morning, Friday, with Blitz and Classical Chess. It was a tough game, and I think we're 15 minutes over schedule here. Time for me to go to bed, get some sleep. Thanks, Soltigo, for moderating. Thanks, Clash Kid, for making the donation to the stream, and thanks everybody, especially Soltigo, for moderating. And thanks all you guys for subscribing. We had a lot of fun games and good analysis tonight. So I'm gonna get some rest, and I'll see you guys all tomorrow morning. Later. Bye bye.